I'm going to make a little squid, which is a shape I've made a lot. They're kind of fun. They're very simple. You've just got like one, not difficult forge weld, but like kind of an exciting and interesting one to get enough mass to make the head. So the way it works is I'm basically going to make 4 legs, 2 on each of a pair of little bars. Fold those over and then forge weld all those middles together, and that will give me enough mass to make the head of my squid, which will only have 4 legs instead of the actual number of legs that squid have, which is more than 4, though not always 8. But it gets the point across. I've done a few bigger ones that had like the full group of tentacles, but that takes a lot longer. And even as it is, like the majority of the work is just going to be making these tapers. So I'm going to start. So I'm looking for a taper that's about, probably on the order of 6 inches long, so I need to go a little bit longer on this. For everyone watching in the future, it is springtime in the south, which means that everything is very wet. Cool. So that's as long as that needs to be. So I'm going to start to take my corners off. And then just roll this around. I'm not looking to make like a really good, perfect circle for the dimension. Just something close enough to round, because all the bends and stuff are going to give it texture anyways, so a little bit of texture, enough that it's got something cool to look at. So that's good. So same thing on the other side. 5, 4, cool. So that's about what I'm looking for. They don't all have to be quite the same length as well. 5, 6 inches is fine. So now that I've got basically those 2 legs, what I can do is fold that in half so I have that chunk in the middle and the 2 legs coming down off of it. And I'll wait to weld it all together until I've got the other 2 ready to go. Don't need a whole lot of heat. Cool. Yeah, so you want those to land right on each other, so you got a really definite start to the body and a start to the legs. So, same thing on the other side. So, completely just a repeat of what I just did. Should be about 2 heats for each leg, 1 heat to bend it over, and we're good to go. There we go, that's that. So, same thing, next heat, make it round, at least close enough. So there's that. Boom, right where I want to be. So one of the, to me, very fun things about more organic shapes is that very rarely do you have to like decide ahead of time some specific length or number that things need to be and like have to land that every time. Pretty much, you know, once I made the first leg, you know, just everything needs to be close enough to that and just land in more or less the right spot, and then it'll be fun. A little more freedom of dimension to play around with stuff sort of in space once you're actually working on it. That's pretty much right at 4. It's good. Cool. So there's that. We've got our 2 sides all prepped. The slight difficulty now is that, it's not really that much of a difficulty, but they need to land at welding temperature at the same time. And since I did that one first, that one's cooled off a lot, so take a moment, sort of even them out a little bit. So I'm going to switch this out for, where's my other small one of those? Basically what I'm going to do now is start to get them both warm. I want to get them both just to, you know, about the same, that's good, point. Get them a little hotter than they are now. And then when I get up to kind of a medium-high orange, I'm going to pull them out, scrub them a little bit, and then put some flux on them. Flux is a material that sort of makes doing a forge weld like this a little bit easier. It's not like a glue, it's something that will exclude oxygen in the atmosphere to keep the material clean as it gets up to a very high temperature, and that will make it a little easier for that weld to stick properly. So we just clean it a little bit first. Sprinkle a little bit of flux, which in this case we're going to use borax because it's cheap and it works pretty well. And do the other one. Borax starts to melt a little bit, gets all over. Cool. So now comes the only like slightly hard part of this, which is I need to get them both, the whole sections that I want to weld, to that welding temperature, about 2450 or so, at pretty much the same time. I need to grab both of them, one in each pair of tongs, pull them out, one goes down, drop that pair of tongs, the other one goes down on top of it, grab my hammer, and set that well. So we're just about there, not quite. You can tell that partially by the color of the flames and partially just by having done it once, so you can get a sense of how long things take. A couple of seconds. Flipping things to make sure that heat is distributed evenly. Alright, and here we go. Now there's going to be some sparks. So get ready. Cool. That was perfect. Exactly what I wanted to do. So they both landed at the right temperature at the same time. Got them out. And that weld went pretty dang flawlessly. So you can see, I don't know how this shows up on the camera, but you can see that heat is being shared across all those pieces evenly. There's no point that is suddenly cooling much faster than the rest. So I can tell that they are welded. You can see those little seams that like on the surface aren't totally done, but that's going to get taken care of when we do the rest of the forging anyway, so cool. So now I've got my 4 legs, I've got a mass for the head on my squid. So the next thing I'm going to do is a little bit more welding, because that tip there isn't quite perfect, just because that is, you know, the end is a little bit thinner, so it didn't quite land on it, which is fine. So I'm going to flux that end, forge that into a little point, then make sure the weld on the back is good to make sort of the waist between the head and the legs, then forge out the mantle. I'm just going to put a little flux kind of on the tip. It's a little cold, but it's way more flux than I really need, but it's fine. Because it's welded, you know, purely in there. If I burn that weld in a little bit, it doesn't matter. Fun fact, not every forge weld needs to be totally perfect. Some of them, you can fudge a little bit, and it'll still be just fine. Because unless that weld is going to be taking weight, you know, it doesn't need to be as flawless as it can be. This just needs to be a mass. It can be a mass with truly terrible crystalline structure, and like, you know, it would look super grody if you like cut it and etched it, but that's fine. It's the end of the squid. No one's going to be doing that much to it. Now there's going to be some more sparks. So that is going to be the point on that mantle. So the next thing I want to do is make kind of the waist and the bit under the mantle where the eyes are going to be, and that's going to be right back in here, right on the edge of this. So put a little, just a tiny bit more flux on there, just to make sure that when I do this at welding temperature, nothing's going to fall apart. Because when you go and forge on a weld that's not like totally perfect, you know, it can split apart. And this I'm going to do over at the power hammer. So this is basically a 70-pound sledgehammer. It goes up and down at something like 120, 150 beats a minute. And the treadle here lets me control where it hits to. So I'm going to use these pullers on this to make that. So, I've got kind of my head waist zone. You see where that mantle's going to be. Let's scrub and look at it. So I'm just going to forge that out a little bit more to get rid of those corners and stuff. And I'll do that here on the anvil. And then I'll go in and forge out the mantle. Cool. So I've got some nice flats for those eyes to sit. Now I can go in and forge out the mantle. So I've got kind of the start of my shape, but I want to kind of pull out those sort of wings that the mantle has. So I'm going to take what is debatably a fuller, or a big weird blob, and I'm going to use this to sort of even out those wings and spread them a lot more laterally this way. So not quite even yet, so a little bit more on this side. But so what this bottom tool does is it allows me to match the curve on this part of my hammer, so I can pinch things with really symmetrical arcs to them. So I want to pull this side out a little more. A little more on this side just to match. And there we go. I've got good shape to my mantle. Cool. So I can go in Let's make some little eyes. I somehow lost my old eye making tool that I used, so I'm going to try and improvise. So this basically gets pressed into the clay of the steel, and it leaves a little raised spot for the eye. Don't actually want a whole lot of heat for this, just enough to sort of get by. And support it here on the horn. And turn it over. And there they are. They match pretty well. Give a little bit of scrub there. I'm gonna play with this. I'm just gonna give it a little bit of life, turn it around, and then bend the legs in its face. Okay, so I've got kind of a bit of a life to that. Since that's not really going to get heated up again, I'm going to take this chance to scrub it a little bit. Cool. All right. Now most of the time I would do the legs with a torch, but we'll just do this with fire, so I don't have to get a bunch more tools out. That is at least start to that one. I'll do the next. All right. That looks pretty okay. And I'm doing kind of opposite sides because it means that I can sort of do one to the other and then keep rotating without overheating or burning the ones that I've already done. So that looks pretty good. Do a little more like that. Just kind of just one more. And it should more or less sit up pretty well. Might have to adjust it a little bit, but it should sit just fine. Alright, that sits up pretty okay. Kind of want to nudge one of these over a little bit. About to drop it. Actually, to adjust that over a little bit. Grab that in my vise. It's still plenty hot, so I can just give that a bit of a tweak. And we'll see how that sets. Fine. Not quite, so I want that to come out a little more. Almost. So I'm going to get a little bit more heat in that leg. I'm not actually even going to get it to glowing, just enough that it's a little bit more nudgeable. Come back to the vise. And just raise this guy up a touch. See how that goes. And there we are. You're a nice little squid friend.